But the lawyer archetype. I mean, archetypes are just patterns of energy, and so we all actually are very fluent in speaking archetypes, but we don't realize it because when you meet somebody and you can kind of hear something in your back of your mind saying, "Oh gosh, she's such a jock," or "What a princess," or "He's kind of a bully," or "Wow, he's got such a regal demeanor about him." So you're talking archetypes, and these are just patterns of energy that we all carry. And of course, it all kind of came from, Carl Jung and his work with archetypal patterns, and how in the collective unconscious, all of these patterns exist, and they come manifest through us. And that was Carolyn Mace's work in her concept that we have a sacred contract, in that we have archetypal companions that actually come with us in this lifetime. And our sacred contract basically is the agreements we make on a soul level prior to our incarnation with Spirit about the lessons we're going to learn, the people we're going to encounter for the evolution of our soul, because it's all about expansion in consciousness. So when you begin to recognize these patterns in yourself and others, it's a psychospiritual tool for you to actually understand why you are the way you are and why certain people are in your life. So if you have this real deep longing to be a lawyer, then you have to look at what's really motivating you. Is it a judge archetype? Or do you want to rescue people? There's a really strong rescuer archetype. And you're going to play with these patterns of energy within yourself. And the lawyer archetype, I think the basis of it is it's a type of healer, because people are coming to you with problems that they need solving. It's just the nature of their problems isn't like a cut or a phobia or a trauma, but it's a different kind of problem that they need help with. So if you kind of orientate your energy around that you're there to be in service to them, more so than the lone gun, the ranger, what do we used to call Paladin? Remember that television show, the hired gun, that kind of thing? The hired gun thing is kind of an archetype that has been attached to lawyers practicing, and it's not a very pleasant one, because it's about destroying the other party, and it's about being out there, being the Lone Ranger, and and taking care of people in a zealous way, within which, as you look at the dynamics around that, tend to destroy everybody in the process. And of course, when a lot of people are talking about holistic practice of law, collaborative justice, resolution of disputes in a more humanistic way, you're really pulling back from that hired gun archetype into more of a healing archetype. I think as I've worked more with this emerging healing community, and to me, the ethics part and being in integrity is absolutely the cornerstone of who I am. So when other people recognize the importance of the ethical structure when you're working with somebody's energy system, and the responsibility it is to actually interact with that energy system to help them deal with their issues and work with transforming their lives, the fact is that there are healers out there that don't have a clue, because they've never given it some thought as to what the relevance is to ethics and the practice of energy medicine or energy psychology. And so that's really I want to empower my clients, but a lot of them in their evolving practices have not recognized the huge legal risks they face in working with innovative, unproven techniques in a therapeutic setting. So there are a number of risks, including negligence and misrepresentation. A lot of these healers get very excited about their techniques. They think, oh, this is everybody needs this, and that's a huge ethical failing, because not every energy technique or any modality is right for every person. You need discernment, and part of the informed consent process is to create a partnership with your client, and so that they agree to the modalities and they understand the theory behind them and what they can expect from these. So an informed, robust consent process is crucial if you want to do healing work in the world. And some people who have migrated out of traditional mainstream medicine and or psychology do have an understanding of the core psychological concepts and ethics, which is client-centered. You have to be aware of the power differential, which is inherent in every therapeutic relationship, the issues of transference and countertransference, the fiduciary relationship, safety. There's all sorts of issues you need to be aware of if you're going to do healing work in a therapeutic setting. And a lot of these, it's interesting, having done this now for 4 years, is that a lot of these new innovative techniques, the people that are gravitating towards them as a career are realizing that there are risks involved, and I need to manage those risks. And so how do I go about that? And so that's what I help my clients with. You want to make sure that on your website, your marketing materials, that you are representing this technique correctly and authentically and with integrity, that you're not making some kind of, unsubstantiated claims of curative ability, which in your enthusiasm you may do and not realize that you could also be called up by the FTC the next day for false advertising. And this has happened in this field. There was a judgment made, a claim made against a gentleman by the name of Roger Callahan, who started TFT, thought field therapy, and very innovative. This was back, I think, in the late 90s, and he's very well known, very well respected. But the FTC thought his claims for his modality were not accurate. And so unfortunately he was fined $50,000. So there's some big risks out there, and so you need to be aware of them. So it's not about saying no, 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 you shouldn't be doing this. It's more like what I like to do is empower my clients to say, these are the risks you face, let's manage them the best that we can. And so that means really good disclaimers for your website, and if you're doing workshops, you need proper release agreements, and almost like an informed consent with your participants of what you're going to be doing, and informed consent for their clients if they see clients. So there's lots of things to consider, and I think now they're beginning to realize that it's not just about going out and doing this technique, it's about really creating with integrity an ethical framework for doing this work in the world. And that's really one of my passions, is to allow that to happen and flourish, because if you do more harm, and there's a lot of harm that can be done if you're not working from an ethical framework and a foundation in ethics when you do healing work with people. And I don't care what technique you're using. It applies to whether you're doing tapas acupressure technique or EFT or matrix energetics or any of the other modalities that are out there right now. And there's so many, it's hard to keep track. So I think, but I want to just anchor that piece of integrity and that piece of ethics in the practice of energy medicine and energy psychology.